Billionaires are parasites. Nobody makes $1 billion by working their asses off. Never mind billions and billions of dollars. They make that money by extracting and exploiting wealth and labor off of other people like you and me. Shot Chaser Truth. Hi, my name is Suri Crowe, and you're watching the MeidasTouch Network. New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani just announced that after only 4 months in office, he was able to balance the city's budget, bringing a $12 billion deficit down to zero. He didn't do that by cutting any services to the working class. He did it in part by taxing the rich.
When I ran for mayor, I said I was going to tax the rich. Well, today, we're taxing the rich. I'm thrilled to announce we've secured a pied-à-terre tax, the first in New York's history. This is an annual fee on luxury properties worth more than $5 million, whose owners do not live full-time in the city. Like for this penthouse, which hedge fund CEO Ken Griffin bought for $238 million. This pied-à-terre tax is specifically designed for the richest of the rich, those who store their wealth in New York City real estate, but who don't actually live here. But even so, they're able to reap the huge financial rewards of owning property in, dare I say, the greatest city in the world. And most of the time, these units are sitting empty, since again, they don't actually live here.
Well, now the billionaires are, as per usual, throwing temper tantrums and screaming about how they're going to move out of cities like New York or leave California. Ken Griffin is the CEO of Citadel Hedge Fund. He is a man who is worth $51 billion. And he is the guy who owns that pied-à-terre penthouse in New York City that he doesn't even live in. It's just a tax haven for him. Well, now he has his panties in a twist.
It was creepy and weird.
Agreed.
I mean, like, knock on the window. Like, Mayor of New York
knock
City.
on the screen, yeah.
Yeah, on the screen, like.
Yeah.
Like that's
How many times have you watched that video?
3. Like, you literally looked at the first time and you're like, you gotta be kidding me. Okay? And then the second time you're like, you know what, this has gone from creepy to actually not really creepy. This has gone frightening because, you know, the CEO of United Healthcare was killed just a few blocks from my house. And anything that creates like an agitation in the extremist on either side of the aisle is a frightening dynamic. I mean, you know, if we look at what happened in DC.
No, Ken, the people need to be afraid of people like you and your fellow billionaire class because you are money hoarders. You are stealing resources from the rest of us. As Robert Reich puts it, it is reverse Robin Hood, $1 trillion tax cut for the rich. Trump's mega bill, the big ugly ass bill for tax cuts for the top 1%. These are the very wealthiest people like Ken Griffin, Elon Musk, Bezos, Zuckerberg, etc. So they are getting a $1 trillion tax cut over the next decade that the people who are struggling the most financially in America are going to be paying for with a $930 billion cuts to programs like Medicaid, to SNAP, to Medicare, to programs that help those of us who need help the most. So a $1 trillion tax cut, folks, for the wealthiest people who do not need any more money. They have money. I'm going to get to the difference between like how much money they have. They have more money than generations and generations and generations of their family will ever be able to spend. They're freaking hoarders is what they are. So those of us who need the most help are going to go without essential programs like the ones I just mentioned by $1 trillion cut to programs that we need, Medicaid, Medicare, SNAP, etc., to pay for a tax cut for the uber wealthy. It is indeed reverse Robin Hood, and it's just absolutely gross.
In some cases, you know, a $9 experience does feel like you're splurging. And then what that means is we have to make it worthwhile, right? And then in other cases, people believe, well, this is a really affordable premium experience because they're saying like, well, it's less than $10 and I get a really premium experience. So regardless of where you're stationed in those income cohorts, we want to make that experience worth your while.
All right, so this guy makes almost $100 million a year, right? But Congress has written a tax code that allows him and his fellow multimillionaires and billionaires to write off their PJs for a tax break. Yet baristas can't write off the clothing they have to buy to adhere to the Starbucks dress code. Are you getting it now? How anti-working class our government for the rich is? that Republicans write. It's not, I mean, it doesn't just go for Starbucks baristas. It goes for anybody. All the years I worked in broadcast television, my tax accountants would tell me that I couldn't write off the clothes or the makeup that I had to buy to be on air every day. They're like, oh, you can't write that off. But uber wealthy people like the Starbucks CEO and these billionaires and the Kardashians can write off their private jets. And you know why that is? Because the wealthy people in Congress wrote the tax code to benefit themselves, and because they're being paid off by the billionaire parasite class. And let's just circle back to the Starbucks CEO for a moment. He makes close to $100 million a year. That's an insane amount of money. That's so much money, I can't get my head around it. And yet he's still not ostensibly a billionaire. He's still not a billionaire. In theory, most people don't understand what $1 billion is, which is why they keep voting to defend billionaires. They think, oh, they're just like us, or I might be a billionaire. No, you're not going to be a billionaire. You're not. And I look at this graphic here. Scientific studies have said that we just can't equate what $1 billion is. Stanford neuroscientists found that people place $1 million halfway between 1,000 and a billion, when in reality, $1 million is $1,000 is 1,000 times closer to 1,000. And if you look at this graph here, this blew my mind. Look at that little graph. So there's $1,000 at one end and a billion at the other. Look at how much closer to $1,000 there in the purple that $1 million is. It is 1,000 times closer to $1,000, whereas a billion, look at the distance you have to go. Like, that is the massive distance between $1 million and $1 billion. It's insane. The average median U.S. household income in 2024 is $83,780, so almost $84,000. To make $1 billion, the median household would need to work for 11,943 years. So good luck becoming a billionaire, folks. It's not going to happen for you. All right. So I took these from Nathan June's Instagram. If you can't picture it, you can't fight it. So people they can't picture it, so they don't think it's all that bad. Yes, it is bad. Billionaires shouldn't exist. They shouldn't exist. Our corrupt and rotten tax code has allowed these people to become wealth hoarders. It's disgusting. There's a reason that most of the world's billionaires are coming from America. And I thought that this comment was terrific. I pulled it off social media. As someone in the UK said, go back 1 million minutes, you get to early 2023. You probably remember what you did in early 2023, right? Okay. Go back 1 billion minutes, remember. You get to the Roman Empire. It's that crazy. You see the difference now? That also helps. Hopefully you understand the difference between 1 million and 1 billion. A million minutes, you're in 2023. 1 billion, you're in the freaking Roman Empire. So hopefully that helps you understand the difference in the amounts of wealth. And someone like Elon Musk, who's almost a trillionaire. Now he's back, like, I don't know, when the world began and the amount of his wealth, that's insane. And then you talk about how the system continues to just benefit them. So Trump gave big banks the green light to rip people off who are struggling. So they charged $3 billion in overdraft fees last year. This is after the Biden administration closed a loophole and capped overdraft fees at just $5. So in 2025, Trump and the Republican Party killed that rule, allowing banks to charge people who are struggling massive overdraft fees again. I mean, the corruption just never stops. To be clear, those banks took over $3 billion from people who had no money, because you're not getting an overdraft fee if you're a millionaire or a billionaire, because you're rich. You're rich as shit. But those of us who are struggling to pay our bills and don't have the money to cover things, we're getting hit with overdraft fees. And people like Fat Cat Jamie Dimon, who's the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, one of the biggest banks in the world, he's charging you $25, $30, I don't know, $50, whatever these banks decide. So these 20 biggest banks made over $3 billion last year. And Jamie Dimon is also a billionaire. Just FYI. Just a gross human. So why do working class people still vote Republican? Republicans make policies against the working class consistently. It is a mind fuck that I cannot get my brain around because Republicans steal our healthcare, our social security. They're looting that. They're stealing our tax money, our education. And yet the MAGA loyal will still blindly support Trump and Republicans no matter what.
That's a fine line there too. As long as your president is taking care of the country and the people from the country, then I give him 100% support. No matter what.
Well, buddy, in Kentucky, here's what the Trump family is really up to. And I can guarantee they don't give a flying fuck about you. And once again, pay attention to the massive difference between $1 million and $1 billion. This clip from Nathan June.
Where I call out the fact that Don Jr. and Eric invested heavily in drone manufacturing companies right after Trump took office and right before we entered the war with Iran, which means they're going to make a lot of money. And a lot of people are going into my comments saying, what about Hunter Biden? What about Nancy Pelosi? You really don't want to force me to do research, you guys, because you're not going to like the outcome. This is what MAGA is upset about regarding Hunter Biden's laptop. It's about $3.5 million from Burisma Holdings and $1.3 million in Soho art sales. Mind you, this was done when Joe Biden was VP and was not president. Comparatively, this is how much Trump's kids and his son-in-law are estimated to have benefited from his second term. You've got crypto ventures, you've got Eric and Don Jr. and their investments, you've got Jared Kushner and his shady dealings with the Middle East, you've got Trump properties, which are new properties that he's secured deals with, and then you've got merchandise, all the idiots wearing the red hats, and the Bibles, and the coins, and the trading cards. It's really hard to do a side-by-side comparison because if you just visually looked at this, it looks like Hunter Biden has way more corruption than Trump's kids. But this is really to do with the fact that I don't think Americans can necessarily compute how much the difference between $1 million and $1 billion is. So let's zoom in. That's the side-by-side comparison. You can't even see the blue line anymore. It's so small that this is how much you have to zoom in to just see the little blue sliver. Oh, but what about Nancy Pelosi? Do Nancy Pelosi next, like this person is demanding I do. Okay, I'll do Nancy Pelosi. There it is. There's Nancy Pelosi's husband and his stock trading. And also, that is since 1978. This is just this year. I want to give further context to just how much money these four individuals have made in the past year. They made double the amount that the entire corporation of Starbucks pulled in terms of net profit in 2025. And just for context, I posted last week about the need for a stock trading ban. I literally am saying we need to get the stock trading ban passed. Keep fucking around. You will find out.
The point is the billionaire class is in another stratosphere, even than the millionaire class, which is down here. And we, the people, are being forced and extorted to give them our tax money so that they don't have to pay anything. They're not paying taxes at all. Donald Trump certainly hasn't. And now he's forcing the IRS to pay him our $10 billion. There's just so much stuff I could get into. Well, once upon a time, the United States seriously taxed the nation's rich. You remember that time? Probably not. To have a personal memory of the tax-rich era, you would now have to be well into your 70s. Back at the tail end of that era, in the early 1960s, America's richest faced a 91% tax rate on income in the top tax bracket. That top rate had been hovering around 90% for the previous 2 decades. In the 1950s, a Republican president, Dwight D. Eisenhower, made no move to knock it down. Then along came the 60s, and President John F. Kennedy said, you know what, I'm willing to knock down the tax bracket. He, of course, came from one of America's wealthiest families, the Kennedy fortune. So he agreed to bump that tax bracket down to about the 70% for the uber wealthy. And then when Reagan came along, all bets were off. Reagan lowered it down to 28%, and we've been hovering around 28% to in the low to mid 30s for the uber wealthy ever since, because Reagan was all about let's make the rich richer, and the Bush family, George Bush II, George W. Bush, was all about that too. Let's just enrich the rich, make them richer, starting with Reagan. And so we have not taxed the rich ever since. And now it's under Trump. Are you kidding me? He's just like, all the money goes to me and my billionaire friends. Tax analyst James Thiel just published a study for the Center for Public Integrity and Bloomberg Tax. And he writes that Congress after Congress has cut taxes for the rich, taxes that otherwise would have gone into the till to help the rest of us get ahead. Well, yeah. And that's not happening anymore. So his new study acknowledges upfront that a variety of factors have contributed to the deeply unequal United States we have today. Everything from deregulation and a weakened labor movement to the shrinking of our national safety net. But taxes, he emphasizes, have been a principal engine of worsening economic inequality simply because the wealthy, thanks to their success in Congress, now have more money to buy stocks, invest in real estate, build mega yachts, blast off into space, and make campaign contributions to politicians so the cycle isn't interrupted. That's exactly right. So they're buying off Congress. They own the majority of the stock markets. When people say, "Whoa, the economy is great, look at the stock market." Rich people own stocks. Poor people don't. By and large, it's true. I mean, maybe you own a couple stocks, but you don't own the vast majority of it. It's the wealthy people, like the people who all went to China with Trump. And this is, if you want to know who's important to our government, look no further than the entourage he took with him to China. Some of the world's wealthiest and most powerful business leaders, people like Tim Cook / Tim Apple, Larry Fink of BlackRock Hedge Fund, Steven Schwartzman of Blackstone, Elon Musk, the head of NVIDIA, the Boeing, it just goes, it's just so gross and corrupt. I mean, and that's all Republicans and robber barons give a flip about. It's not us. By the way, where we are now is 100 times worse than the first Gilded Age. Yes, when the Vanderbilts and the Rockefellers were the robber barons of their time, we are 100 times worse. Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Zuckerberg, all these billionaires, like the wealth that they have accrued, as I've pointed out to you, hopefully in this video, like you've got the Rockefellers and the Vanderbilts here, and now you've got these mega billionaires. It's gross. They shouldn't exist. We need to tax billionaires out of existence. The only way we do that is by changing Congress. So please follow me on my social media. We can do this, but we have to get rid of the corruption in Congress. It's not going to change. They're on the take. They're getting paid off by these corrupt politicians. And look what Trump's doing. Trump was a failed businessman. According to Forbes, he is now worth 6.5, maybe soon to be $16.5 billion if he gets this money from our IRS and Treasury Department. And it's been allowed because of the corruption in Congress, because Republicans have done nothing to stop him. Nothing. And we have Democrats who are also on the take by these mega donors. So we have to stop it. All right. I've gone on long enough, but it's up to us. We're the only ones who are going to be able to stop this, because we can't be living in a society that is so deeply corrupt and unequal, where we have people starving on the streets, homeless, unable to pay for things. And then we have people who are they're hoarders when we need to shame them. You're gross. You're like a person who's overeating, like all the food, like you're nasty. You're like a big fat nasty person. Sorry, I'm not fat shaming, but it's a disease and illness when you're hoarding that much wealth. There's something wrong with you. Okay. Be fierce and peace out.
The truth is more important than ever. Check out our new Truth Over Lies collection at store.MeidasTouch.com. All 100% USA union made.